Great. Hello, good morning, good afternoon. We will get started here in just a few minutes. Let a few more folks join. Great, attendees picking up. We will get started. If you're just joining us, we'll get started here in just a minute or two. All right. Great. Well, we'll get started. For everyone's awareness, we are recording for today. We're going to be sharing out this meeting recording as well as the deck after the call. So anyone who wasn't able to join is able to listen in. But with that, we'll get started. I'll hand it over to our CEO, Mandla Nkomo.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Amanda. And yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to connect with all of you today. And when I saw a graphic the other day that kind of shows where all our volunteers are coming from. The United States, I think, has over 1,000 active volunteers. Europe, you need to catch up about 300. Africa, you below 100, and Southeast Asia and Latin America, you also have a lot of catching up to do. But I think all in all, it's amazing to have all of you as the PFS family to be joining us today to have a conversation about where we think as an organization we want to go and how we see our partnerships with yourself continuing to evolve. Because the way we look at it as PFS, whether it's about helping businesses grow or it's about strengthening food systems, it's about creating opportunities across the African continent. All of these things actually can only happen because of the folk that we have on this call today. So what we're saying is that there's no way PFS can be an impactful organization without the dedication and the commitment. And I know the sacrifices that some of you have made to make the PFS model work. So today we've got a full team from our side, and we just want to be in conversation with you and help you understand how we think going forward. We commit to taking your volunteer experience to the next level. And Amanda and the team are going to give us an update. And I just want to thank you again for the commitment and the support that you've given us over the last few years. And ask Amanda to take it away. Amanda.
Great. Well, thank you, Mandla, and hello again, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us at our volunteer all hands event. For those who don't know me, my name is Amanda Trossett, and I'm the Director of Expertise Management at PFS, where I have the pleasure of overseeing the entire volunteer journey and experience within Partners in Food Solutions. And before we get started, again, I want to acknowledge we're recording and we will be sharing out this recording at the end to all active volunteers. Also, throughout this presentation, you will see a couple polls pop up. Don't worry, that's us. And so please share your thoughts when you can. And we will also be hopefully wrapping up about 45 minutes in, 45 minutes. So the last 15 minutes can be used for Q&A for those who are interested to stay on. And those that are, we do have a Q&A actual feature at the top of Teams. If you could use that to submit your questions, that would be great. Then we can moderate for that and make sure we answer those questions throughout today's presentation. For today's event, we are going to be reviewing PFS's new 8-year strategy, but specifically focusing on what this means for our volunteers and how your feedback over the years helped inform and shape our new strategy. And so by the end of this call, we hope you're really feeling up to speed on where PFS is today, where we're going, and ultimately proud of the impact that you've created as part of the PFS volunteer community. And ultimately hope that this motivates you and encourages you to continue to stay engaged with us in this next chapter. But you won't be hearing from only me today. So I do have 3 colleagues on the call who are under expertise management who'll be jumping in to bring these updates to life. And so I'm going to let them briefly introduce themselves too, and then we'll get started.
Thanks, Amanda. My name is Brian Trigilgis, for those who don't know me. I am the corporate partner accounts lead, and so part of what I do is help recruit lots of volunteers like yourselves and manage our relationships with our corporate partners. And I am based in Minneapolis, excited to be talking with you all today.
Thank you, Brian. Again, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Lolita Valdesalase. I'm from Volunteer Engagement Team. Uh, my name might feel familiar because I email a lot because my role is connecting volunteers with our opportunities, like matching your expertise and interests. And we're so happy that you joined us today.
Great. Thanks, Lulit and team. And finally, my name is Chenge Wandabwa, based out of our Nairobi office. My role is the Volunteer Success Associate. Definitely, I know I have connected with quite a number of you on projects in the past. We've had quite good conversations during those particular projects. My role is to champion, of course, is to champion your volunteer journey here at PFS and make sure that you have all that you need to make you thrive in your role. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, team. So to start us off, going to our next slide in the PFS model, I think it's really important that our volunteers hear, first and foremost, that our core model, the one we've been operating for 17 years of connecting remote skills-based volunteer consulting program with you as the corporate volunteers to promising food companies across sub-Saharan Africa is not changing. So again, what we know over these last 17 years is that the model works. And in this next chapter of PFS, we're just focused on how do we apply what we've learned and make it a more efficient and even more impactful model. And before we say where we're going, I do want to take a quick moment to look back on the journey and where we've been. So for the last about 17 years, at the macro level, PFS has touched 18 countries across sub-Saharan Africa and partnered with promising food companies and leaders in those markets, and they all play an essential role in their local food systems. And along that way, again, inception to date, about 2,500 individual people have stepped forward to share their time and expertise. So that's not just signups, that's actually contributing hours working with a food company. And that was over 186,000 hours of support. And so that generosity of time and knowledge that all of you have shared has really helped shape 2,641 client food companies and help them strengthen their operations, improve their products, make them safer, and even grow their businesses. And together, these clients have sourced from about 1.8 million smallholder farmers, and they do directly employ over 50,000 people, which means the guidance that you're giving as volunteers have influenced livelihoods and opportunities throughout the entire value chain. And ultimately, all of this is laddering up to healthier, safer, and affordable food, which is the goal of PFS. And to date, that impact adds up to more than 109 billion nutritious meal servings, which are reaching individuals and their families. I do want to drill down just a little bit in the last 4 years alone. So this is the last PFS strategy. And in that time, we've had over 1,500 people volunteer with us. So again, that's not just signups, that's actually people who've engaged on a role. And that's about 60% of the total engaged volunteers we've had inception to date in just the last 4 years. Those same 1,500 people filled actually over 2,400 roles, individual roles. And so we're really thrilled to say that over that same time frame, we're seeing volunteers report to us an over 90% satisfaction score. So all of those product development projects that you helped advise on, the guidance you gave has led to 267 new products in those markets across sub-Saharan Africa. The support and guidance and mentorship that you gave to our clients has led to over 9 international food safety certifications, which has allowed them to, of course, produce safer food, but even access new markets. And all of those marketing and sales plans you looked through, those business strategies, those financial systems you helped make more robust, have led to over $100 million worth of investment in our client companies. And again, this is just in the last 4 years. And I could honestly sit here all day talking about the impact you've generated at the macro level, at the micro level. But I hope this at least shows and begins to shed some light on all that you've been able to accomplish in just the last 4 years. And you did it from all over the world. So this is also, I think this is the slide that Mandala was alluding to in his intro, where it was pretty amazing when we really sat down and truly mapped out where our volunteers have come from over the last 17 years. And they've come from over 53 different countries. And so each of you are bringing your experiences, your ways of working, and your skills to the table. And again, it's truly a global movement. But the reality is the challenge does still remain. So you may have seen reports that in the last couple of years, global hunger overall has maybe gone slightly down, but it has increased in sub-Saharan Africa. And it's a complex situation, a complex reality tied to economic instability, fragmented markets, conflict and climate shocks. And we know that Africa also is currently carrying the highest burden of foodborne illness in the world. But at the same time, it's also a region with one of the fastest growing populations, a young dynamic workforce, and more entrepreneurs per capita than almost any other region. And by 2100, nearly 40% of the world is going to be African. And with the agricultural sector already providing the majority of jobs across African countries where we're working, and with the right support, we think this can be an engine for innovation. It can be an engine for increased nutrition, and it can be also an opportunity for inclusive growth. And so while PFS's goal is for the future to no longer need partners in food solutions, we know we're not there yet. And so with that, I will hand it now to my teammate, Brian, who's going to start taking us through where PFS is going in the next chapter.
Thanks, Amanda. As we look ahead to our Ambition 2033, our strategy really comes down to one big goal, which is strengthening food systems across sub-Saharan Africa by supporting the companies that are most ready to grow, ready to improve, and most importantly, put your expertise as volunteers into action. On this slide, you'll see a few elements of how we plan to get there. At our core, we're focusing on high potential food companies, businesses that have strong leadership, clear demand, and the capacity to scale. These are companies that can become emerging national champions, which we're defining as national food champions in our target markets, and ultimately move the needle for their country's food systems. Right alongside them, we're also supporting what we're calling critical local food businesses, those that directly contribute to security of food in their communities, but are a little bit smaller in scale. What this means for you as a volunteer is simple, but really important, that we're really intentionally shaping our pipeline so that the clients you work with are more prepared, more capable, and more positioned to implement your recommendations. These will be companies where your time and expertise have a real path to make an influence, whether that's expanding nutritious food options, strengthening operations, or reaching new markets so that our clients can hire more people, reach more farmers, and produce safer, more nutritious food. By focusing on companies interested in and aiming to grow, we're ensuring that the volunteer requests coming your way are meaningful, actionable, and aligned with clients who are ready to partner with you. Ultimately, all of this drives impact that you see on the right side of the screen. stronger economies, more jobs, more resilient farmers, more nutritious food, and healthier communities. So our headline for you as volunteers is this. Our new strategy is designed to improve the volunteer experience by ensuring you're working with clients who are prepared, motivated, and most well-positioned to implement your recommendations. We've already delivered a great experience, but our goal is that this will deliver even clearer results, even smoother engagements, and more stronger connection between you and your clients. This is what we mean by Ambition 2033. As part of our new strategy, we're also being more intentional about where we work. On the geography side, we're focusing in markets where we know we can be the most effective. Countries like Kenya, Uganda, Zambia, Nigeria, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, and Senegal, and a few others you see on the map. These are the places where we have the strongest network, strong demand for food companies, and a clear ability to match our remote volunteer model to address their needs. We're also positioning ourselves to target expansion in a few additional high potential markets like Tanzania and Ethiopia, where we previously worked but haven't in the most recent years. Our hope is that we're able to unlock the opportunities that both of these markets present. Similarly, on the value chain side, just like we are in geographies, we want to make sure that we're positioning ourselves to best support the value chains that are poised to growth that have the most demand from our clients. So things like cereals and rice, roots and tubers, beans and legumes, dairy, fruit and vegetables, and nuts and seed. These are products that consumers across the continent consume every day, and they're areas where we know companies are actively seeking our support to upgrade their processes, improve quality, and scale their production the most. We're still going to engage in sectors like poultry, spices, cocoa, where it makes sense, but a proactive effort will be to engage in categories where we can create the greatest, most immediate impact. And our approach in each country, of course, will still be based on local needs and the country advantages in those value chains. And why are we prioritizing these markets? We want to concentrate our efforts in places where the food sector is showing the most momentum. Markets where we're able to grow the most quickly, where demand is highest, and where your expertise can translate into improvements really quickly so that you can see the impact that you're making really tangibly. These are environments where our investment can deliver the most return and where our clients are also ready to implement the kind of recommendations that you, our volunteers, provide. Because at the same time, we also know that volunteer demand far exceeds our supply. You, as volunteers, are our most valuable resource. So we want to be thoughtful and intentional about where we ask you to put your time and energy, focusing on clients and markets where we can see the greatest chance for growth. With that, I'll hand it to my colleagues Chenge and Lulit to talk more about our enhanced volunteer experience in the new strategy.
Great. Yeah, and thank you so much, Brian, for taking us through that. I think one thing that Brian has mentioned is we have been more thoughtful and mindful of how we engage our volunteers in terms of supporting our clients. So over the past year, we've had feedback from you during service, during project calls, in debriefs, and certainly in focus groups. I know some of you have had conversations with me around feedback on how we can improve or what we can do. And what we've had has really been very consistent. One is that you really care about the work that you do in terms of helping our clients move forward. And you also want to make sure that the experience that you get feels both smooth, is very predictable, and meaningful as well. So what that means is we are going to make some changes, all of which, of course, come very directly from your voices. So the first theme that we did hear about a lot from our volunteers and you in particular is you want to make sure you want to have clients who are coming to projects ready. You want to see services that are much smoother, and clients that are coming to services well prepared. So what we are doing is we are going to focus a lot more on structuring this, especially around the client readiness before you join the services. So what that means is, one, you will have a lot more clear expectations with the clients before you join any of the services. We'll also do the required pre-work with the clients. And then finally, we also have tighter coordination from our client service advisors. I know you've previously known them as program managers, as well as our service lead. The goal for this is quite simple. When you as volunteers step into a service, we want you to meet a client who's committed, who's aligned internally, and one who's also ready to make progress from the set. Then the second thing was around the length of services. And we had, so what you say is you do not want any surprises, you do not want any shifting scopes, you do not want scope creeping midway. And I know this has been the case in some of the projects that we've had, or the services that we've had in the past. So what we are doing is we're also improving how we set and track these services and the timeline. So we are aligning the expectations upfront with the client. We are adding more quality control checkpoints so that the projects that you are on, or any of the other services, can stay on track. And the reason we are doing this is, in as much as you're providing your time, we also want to be very mindful. We want to make sure that the commitment you sign up for is exactly the commitment that you actually experience. Then the third bit was around the service and volunteer role types. So another big piece of feedback we had is you want more opportunities that match your expertise, match your experiences, match your bandwidth, as well as your interest. So what we've done is we've also gone ahead and expanded and refined the services that we are going to offer. And that also means that you have a lot more volunteer roles that you can sign up on. So you'll be able to see more structured workshops, clearer scopes, and you also have a lot more options ranging from short ask an experts to deeper project engagements. So what this also means is with the more service types that we have, we are able to match most of you to the right problems or projects or services that closely align with your expertise, closely align with your bandwidth, closely align with your interests. And then the other bit that this also does is we are going to support clients in much better ways, ways that are more relevant and effective, rather than just having bundled projects together. Then the final change that we also going to make is around the feedback that we share on or impact updates, as many of you would know. So many of you have been on projects or services, and you say you love the work that you do, but sometimes you really don't know what happened after a project is wrapped up. You don't know if the client was able to implement any of the recommendations you shared. You don't know if there were any progress that they made. So what we are doing is we're also going to put in place simple and consistent processes to make sure that each one of you is able to get a short, timely update at the end of every service that you're part of. So this is not going to be a long, boring story or report. It's going to be what I would call a clear snapshot of what moved forward. So if you're part of a project, for example, what exactly happened beyond that part, and how did your expertise help the client in that particular area? So I know you give so much, and we also want to make sure that the difference that you're making is visible to you. So when you put together all these improvements, the goal is, like, our main goal is one thing, to make sure that we are creating a volunteer experience that, one, respects your time, and two, is able to utilize your expertise. So this slide here is just an example of how some of those improvements are actually going to show up in our real work. You can see some of the updated service structures. and how that creates clearer, smoother transition. So there'll be clearer roles, more intentional matching for services as well as the volunteers. We'll also have very defined timelines and a more streamlined path from the time you join a service to the outcome. So with the outcome, I'll definitely talking about the impact that we'll be able to share. And the key takeaway from this is we, of course, want to make sure that your experience feels more supported with better scoping and upfront clearer coordination throughout the projects. This is also another slide that just gives you the expanded volunteer role types that I spoke about briefly. So I won't go through the whole service to define, or the whole slide to define each and every service that we have on offer. But again, it's just a clearer indication of the type of services that you'll be able to connect with eventually. And you'll be able to choose each of the services, again, based on your schedule, based on your interest, as well as your availability and energy. So each role is now set up with much, much better support, more clear expectations, and we'll be close by to help you. Again, as I mentioned, I'll be here to provide all the support, and of course, the rest of my colleagues provide all the support that you need all through. So overall, these updates will help us build a much stronger, more volunteer-centered model, one that is shaped directly from the feedback that you gave us. And again, we really, really appreciate your honesty and being frank all through as we reach out and continue supporting our clients. So I will hand it over to my colleague, Lulit.
Thank you, Chenge. Again, as Chenge mentioned, we're expanding and refining our service delivery model and volunteer role types. And as many of you know, over the years, PFS has offered a wide range of volunteer opportunities because your expertise, your schedules, and your interests are wonderfully diverse. And roles like project volunteer, ask an expert, and mentorship remain core to how we serve clients. And each of these roles offers different time commitment, as you know, and different ways to share your knowledge, whether it's a short-term expert consultation, ongoing project support, or one-on-one mentoring from the CEO of the client company to our apprentices. But this year, we took a step back and really listened to your feedback, as Jengi said, and our evolving needs of our clients. What we heard was clear. We needed clear expectations, more tailored opportunities, and better support systems so that our volunteers and clients have an experience that feels smooth, aligned, and more meaningful. So today we want to highlight these two major updates in these role types, marked here with stars on this slide. The first one is a project coordinator. This role isn't new. You might remember it as a client lead role, but we refined the title and clarified the responsibilities. Many of you were already doing this role and extremely well too. Thank you so much. We simply aligned the title with the responsibility and sharpened the expectations. So this project coordinator serves as a relationship and project manager for a service. You are the bridge between our clients, our volunteers, and the PFS staff, of course, just to keep track, everything on track, ensuring communications flow smoothly, and advocating for volunteers on the project to ensure that they have what they needed to be successful. So this role support is for only the project work, which just remains our bread and butter. And you will continue to partner with PFS staff to execute this. And one thing we always want to emphasize is that you don't need any functional expertise on the project topics. What you bring is organization, coordination, and relationship building. And we're sure that this clear title and expectation make it kind of easier for volunteers who enjoy project management or want to develop their project management skill to step into this role. And our second role type is a brand new one, which we're very excited, the training contributor, because this emerged directly from our volunteer interests and client demand. Many of you shared that you love to contribute through training and have a passion for adult learning, even if you could not come for long-term projects. And Also, many food companies are looking for a short targeted training on specific topics, anything from quality system to HR to operation basics. And so this training contributor can support training virtually in a variety of ways, either to help develop the training content or deliver customized one-on-one training sessions with our clients, or even sector-wide training on a cohort companies. And it could be like virtual workshop, webinars, or pre-recorded courses. We have like that's just like we have different ways we can formats we can use this, and it's going to be 1 to 2 hours per week commitment, just for a couple of months. So we think that's going to be a fantastic options for our volunteers who want a meaningful but time-bound contribution, connected to learning and development. So we're very excited. So these updates help us to do two things. It's just first and foremost, like give our volunteers more defined pathways to contribute that match your interests, bandwidth, and strengths. And of course, also for our clients, we just want to better align the right expertise and approach. So we meet the demands of each of our clients. So going forward, each of these 5 volunteer role types will have well-defined objectives, targeted timeline, and clear role descriptions to make it easier for you to join, to contribute, and stay engaged. And of course, as Chenge said, that all the PFS team will be with you throughout this processes and engagements, and also especially our field team will be there for sure. And on the second slide, yeah, so just again, building on what Chenge shared earlier about how we're committed to sharing high quality stories and impact updates consistently. We're just thinking of different ways and formats. And of course, we'll be collecting service level, just client level impacts updates and sharing them with our volunteers at least once a year consistently. And we'll continue our corporate partners impact reports, our newsletters. We're going to be consistent in highlighting on our LinkedIn's, and we're going to relaunch our annual volunteer awards as well, which is always gives us just a happy moment to commemorate our volunteers' contribution. Yeah, and we're also launching a voluntary advisory council to complement our ambassador network, which already doing an amazing job of like sharing about PFS with their colleagues and sharing opportunities when we're really like just short of volunteers with different functions. But also this volunteer advisory council will help us guide improvements to our impact sharing processes and overall volunteer experiences. It's just we're trying to make sure your voice will continue to shape the future of PFS. And to streamline these volunteer operations, we've already unified recruitment, engagement, and support efforts under one team, expertise management, which Amanda is leading. It's just to strengthen our ability to support our volunteers throughout their engagement, having share updates consistently, and just overall having great volunteer experience with us. And of course, we'll have a volunteer success team to collect and deliver impact updates regularly. Yeah, and the second slide, the third thing, the next slide would be just to give you a quick example of how structured impact sharing would look like moving forward. As Jane mentioned, it's not going to be boring, but again, it's just going to give you like a structured way that you can see. It's just digest the information. This is like an example. It's just, I'm not going to go in detail about this, but this is one of our clients from Ghana, Praise Exports, been with us, I think, over almost 9 years. And it just shows that like how you are volunteers from different services that you supported them with quality system, with plant layout, laboratory setup, mentorship from the leaders to the finance team. This shows how they changed the growth, their revenue from 2.5 million in revenue, I think, to over 8 million in the last 9 years, and also doubled their workforce. So yeah, we're just getting better at tracking results like this across all our projects, and we'll make sure that you'll get it. You will share it direct consistently, and we're so grateful for all you do and excited what it means for both volunteers and clients going forward. And back to you, Amanda.
Thank you, team. Great. So now that you've heard some of those updates, what does this mean for you? Ultimately, our hope is that you continue to see PFS in your future and you continue with us in this next chapter because one, when you're a volunteer with PFS, you're joining this community of problem solvers. Everyone on this call, everyone who will watch this recording after, everyone who signs up for these roles or promotes PFS within their partners, within their partner companies, you're not doing this work alone. You're part of this network of people who all believe that sharing knowledge can truly unlock opportunity, and they don't shy away from a challenge. Second, your expertise, as you just heard from Lulit, and as we are committing as we move forward to sharing more regularly with you, your expertise is changing the trajectory of real people and real companies. So every time you spend an hour reviewing a process flow or offering guidance on a shelf life study, coach on a business decision, or even help keep a remote project team on track, which is no small feat, you are helping an entrepreneur grow. You're helping them hire more people, source from more smallholder farmers, and increase their access, the community's access to safe, nutritious food. So your knowledge is not just theoretical, and you're creating ripples that really move beyond any single project or service that you work on. And three, you're helping build this next generation of African food leaders. So many of our clients and definitely our apprentices can be very early in their journey. So they're learning, they're expanding, and they're dreaming really big. So the insights you provide can really become foundational to how they lead, how they solve problems, and ultimately how they ultimately lead the food processing sector in their markets. And four, you're becoming part of a movement that spans countries and lived experiences. Like we saw in the very beginning, we've already tapped volunteer expertise from 53 different countries. How high can we go? And I think what really unites this group of volunteers is this, again, belief that expertise and sharing that expertise can be a force for good. And that shared purpose is what connects a food scientist sitting in Minneapolis to an engineer sitting in Accra, Ghana, to a finance expert that's sitting in Zurich, to a marketing leader that's in Sao Paulo. And I think, finally, I hope what you are hearing today is that there is a place for you here, wherever you are, and also whatever you know. So whether you're new to your company or an early career professional, you're recently retired, whether you can give 1 hour or 10 hours, and whether your expertise is more technical or more business focused, there really is meaningful work for you to contribute to here. And we want you here. We want you to be able to serve in ways that feel aligned with your skills, your interests, and also, of course, your capacity and time. And so together, you're helping build a stronger and more vibrant, more resilient food system in sub-Saharan Africa. And we're grateful that you're part of that mission, that you helped inform this new 8-year strategy. And we're very committed to making these updates to continuously improve and, of course, increase our collective impact. So with that, we'll move into some next steps. So I just want to leave you with a few simple ways to stay engaged with PFS in this community, a few calls to action. First is share PFS. Most of our volunteers joined us because someone they knew mentioned, referral, the number one referral source is from colleagues and from someone they trust. So if there's a friend or colleague that might love to do this work or just wants to learn more, invite them in. You again are our strongest ambassadors, and we appreciate any support we can get in spreading the word. And then stay connected with us. So our team loves hearing from you. I think you heard that passion today from each of them. And if you want to ever explore one of those new volunteer role types or one of our new services, you want to check in on upcoming opportunities or just talk through your interests and kind of what is PFS up to, please reach out. We're here to help plug you in where you'll have the most impact and where you'll feel the most meaning. And Karen and Lulit, so Lulit's counterpart in Accra, Ghana, Karen, are both standing ready to engage with you. And so actually, after we conclude today's call, we again will send out an email with this recording, but we'll also include our contact information and links to schedule time with us. Because again, that's what we're all here for, is to connect with all of you. And then I'd ask you get ready for 2026. So as you've heard, this is our new strategy. It's officially rolling out, and we're going to need expertise across all functional areas. If you're in finance, engineering, food safety, and quality in particular, your insights are really important as we launch some of those new service offerings. But again, truly, every function will be needed. We know that demand, again, will increase significantly in 2026, and we want to be ready for it. So if the time allows, if it's the right moment for you, we want to make sure you're saying yes to the right opportunity when it comes your way. And that, again, can be this quick ask an expert. It could be a one-on-one mentorship. It could be helping to develop or deliver training content, or even supporting a more complex project, because really every contribution helps. So again, we've diversified the offerings to hopefully meet you where you are and what's available for you. And we hope that one speaks to you. And again, reach out to us if you're ever curious. If you don't see one, or you want to know what's coming down the line or what might be available in the future, we're here to guide you through the whole experience. So then finally, please keep showing up as you always have for the last 17 years as part of this global community. This movement really only works because of you and your experience, your curiosity, and of course, your generosity. That's really what makes PFS and the impact that we have possible. So thank you for all you've done, everything you continue to do, and everything you'll keep doing as we move into this next chapter at PFS. And so with that, we'll conclude our conversation or our presentation for today, but we're here to take a few questions. We again wanted to reserve this last few minutes to do the Q&A, and if anyone needs to step away, understandable. Thank you so much for joining, but happy to take some of these questions in the Q&A feature for those who might have them. But thank you again so much. We appreciate you, and really looking forward to working together in these next 8 years. Great. Any indication? Okay, great. So I've got a question here. We know that if the project is successful, that the food supply are safer, produce in safer environments, and produce more efficiently. Do we have any indication that some of these benefits translate to more affordable and available food to common people? That's a great question. That's a big question. And I think, one thing we're doing, as you did see from the nutritious meal servings that we are collecting, we continue to track that. We're tracking across all of our clients increased production. We do work a lot with companies that are not some of which may export regionally, many of which are actually supplying food to local communities. And so much of that production, we can make that direct correlation to, is that being served and accessible within the local communities. We do work with a number of clients. We again do customize to every company we work with. So some of our companies are very, very intentionally serving in their informal markets. They're selling in kiosks. They're accessing, providing affordable food in that environment. But I think that is, again, kind of customized to each client, but we do have some higher level indicators that we're using to track. And I would love to invite Mandala to also speak to this as well.
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. And I think this is a brilliant question, because it kind of goes to the heart of why a lot of the folk that volunteer for PFS do it. They really want to contribute to making a difference to ordinary and common people. And because of that, one of the things that we've added to what we measure as an organization is the proportion of what we consider to be nutritious food that is in the portfolio of products that our clients make. So we are now actively tracking that. We've also invested in bringing on board a senior technical advisor who's got many years of working in the nutrition space to help us really have a good framing and understanding of what nutritious food means and what it looks like and how we can track it. So we're building an infrastructure internally to be able to answer this question better and to give tangible examples. But I want to end off with a clear example that always warms my heart, and that's from a country called Uganda. We've been working with a business called Pristine Foods, which produces pasteurized liquid eggs. And as you know, eggs probably are the closest thing you can have to a complete food in terms of the combination of vitamins, of proteins, of fats, and everything else. But for many poor people, they do not have access to that. So working with Pristine Food, we were able to help them to develop the capacity to create a powdered egg product. And that powdered egg product immediately created an opportunity for the government of Uganda and also for UNICEF to be able to deliver little 12-gram sachets, probably I think it's an ounce or half an ounce, sachets of eggs, powdered eggs, that can be given to poor families in rural Uganda, and the children can be assured of having an egg a day because a company in Uganda is able to produce a powdered egg product in a tiny sachet. That is a tangible example that's happening right now. And when I last checked, they were in a project that was feeding 50,000 young children in Uganda every single month. And for me, that's already a classic example of what impact looks like when we help companies solve important technical and business problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Mandla. We also had a great question here around how we choose motivated and committed clients, and how and what are we doing to improve client readiness. So absolutely, I think to address the client readiness question, so there is kind of a series of steps that clients have always gone through for our vetting process to make sure that we're working with these high potential clients with ethical and committed leadership who are ready to engage with our volunteers. But we're adding a step now in this new strategy where we're adding more intentional diagnostic assessments. So that's one way that we're making sure clients are ready, is some of this upfront information that we need about their current food safety and quality management practices. What is their current process flow look like? What is their current financial situation, from a investability readiness, analysis. We have some steps we're now adding that add a bit more formality to how we assess a client's current state that then also help inform the types of services we provide to them. And then again, set up those questions about what's the current state, and so where are we trying to go, and what are those steps to get there. Before projects, we have over the years also been developing a series of templates and checklists based on some common projects, especially those that we've seen run a bit long, that it include like business plans, that included marketing strategies, where we sometimes found the requests that were coming through were confusing the two between a marketing strategy and a business plan. And so we instituted a few templates to have our team, our PFS staff, create or fill in with the client to then share with the volunteers, so that when volunteers are joining, we're not joining at that kind of discovery stage or joining at the point where they're filling in that checklist. They've already done some of that pre-work. They've already put down some of their initial thoughts, their current practices. So our volunteers are coming in at the right moment to start providing input and recommendations. But our volunteers are involved in those different steps. So we do have volunteers helping us review those initial assessments. We will have volunteers help us develop these templates as well to, again, make sure volunteers' voices are incorporated in how we do this. But it's definitely a much more formal and a more robust process than we had done previously. And I think for how we choose motivated and committed clients, we have a fantastic team on the ground in the countries where we are, who are from the communities where our clients are based and who are themselves from the food industry. And so they have a great sense of who is in the market already. They have extensive networks. And again, we have a pretty a robust process of how we vet and onboard those clients. And when we say motivated and committed, I think we at PFS are being a bit more clear on what kind of the of what's expected of clients who join in with us and are able to have access to this amazing resource of our volunteers, and having some of these steps in place, like completing an assessment or having that time with our staff, will ultimately give us another proof point of the commitment, another proof point of their readiness to engage with our volunteers. And so that's how we're doing it now. And that's, again, building on the lessons that we've learned from the last 17 years of kind of how do we better prepare them and also assess readiness and pull and commitment.
Yeah, maybe I can answer Helene's question, Amanda, because Helene is asking how can we help in providing a little bit more context of the environment or the business areas where our companies are operating in. I'm glad you asked that, because one of the things that our impact and reporting team has really done a great job of doing is building what we are calling country profiles. And these country profiles are built around, publicly available data on the economic progress, the rate of inflation, the composition of the food and agriculture sector, its contribution to employment, and also the different sectors that are growing and which ones are stagnating. I know I've seen a couple of reports on Ghana, on Nigeria, and I think for every country where we work, this is one of the things that we are deliberately doing, because we're making tactical choices about which sectors to emphasize, which areas to support, and therefore that's driven by data. And I think, Amanda, what I'm hearing Helene ask is that perhaps this could be a good part of of background documents that we give to our volunteers before they get started on a project, to give them a bit of context. So that data is there, and the team has really started producing amazing information around that. So we'll be more than happy to share that, Helen. Yeah.
Yes, great question. Thank you. Oh, great.
There is a
Another.
question on the exports. Do you want me to take that, or you
Oh,
handle
sure.
that?
Go ahead. I can come in after you're done.
Yeah. So I think for us, we feel that it's always going to be important to find a balance between companies that are focused on local markets, which we believe are absolutely important. But we know that certain crops like avocados, cashew nuts, even cocoa, are crops that mean a lot to smallholder farmers, and therefore supporting companies that are the aggregators and processors of those crops becomes very important in achieving our mission, which is really to give farmers a better deal and make their livelihoods much better. So we definitely in our mix, and I think we had a lot of a big debate in our strategy making process around what do we want that proportionality to look like. We didn't quite settle on anything, but we've said that for as long as exporting companies are producing products that are adding value from a farmer perspective, we will always give those priorities. So right now we're building a fairly decent portfolio of companies processing avocados, either exporting them as fresh or processing them into oil. In Cote d'Ivoire, we're doing a lot of work with companies that are working in the cashew sector, which is providing farmers a useful outlet, especially those that have in the past only done cocoa. The fact that they can now do cashews is giving them a little bit of income diversity, and that industry is growing and creating jobs and creating opportunities for young people. So absolutely, we are looking at that as well.
Great. Thank you, Mandla. Keep an eye on any additional questions in our last 5 minutes. Want to be respectful of your time. Great. Saw some thumbs up. Great. Great. And we know, there's a lot that we could try to cover in an hour. We already are almost at time, and we know we couldn't get into every tiny detail. And we know many of our volunteers are really curious to know more about how this strategy came about. Like I think, again, Helene, your great question around context and how do we help build that out for our volunteers more in depth. Please don't hesitate to set up time with us. You are one of our key audiences to make sure you feel you understand where PFS is going. You're part of this community, you're part of this team. So if you have additional questions or you want to build on one of these questions that's been asked, you want to dig a little bit deeper into one of the things you heard today, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'll make sure, again, you easily have our emails. Hopefully you have almost all of ours at this point, but if not, we'll make sure that that's shared, and we stand ready to help explain or illuminate more about PFS and kind of how we've gotten to where we are today and where we're going. So again, very happy to take that up with anyone who wants to go into those details. Keep an eye on any last questions that may come through, but I think we are. Oh, and thank you, Kathy. I just saw your comment building on Helene's of, the country profiles and doing a live training, one time of year. I think that sounds great. And this is exactly the kind of, these kinds of ideas and feedback that we love to hear from our volunteers so we can create content and create processes that are really relevant and responsive to your experience. So yeah, this is great. I think that's a great idea, Kathy. So thank you already for sharing some ideas. I know we've noted it, and we'll explore how we can do that in the coming year.
Yeah, I also like the suggestion by Kathy that, it's one thing to give people something to read, but it's also useful to maybe create throughout our annual calendar, call them country profile days, where we not only have one or two clients presenting on the business opportunities that they see, and then open it up to volunteers to come and interact and have a better understanding of the opportunities and what's going on in that country. I think that will foster better understanding of the potential impact that volunteers like yourself, Kathy and Helene, are contributing to. So I think this is something we'll definitely add to our repertoire. Having country briefing sessions that are live.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
There's something from Vaishali. So glad to see familiar faces, inspired to be a volunteer as a client lead again. So it sounds like people have been waiting for this, project coordinator role, Amanda, and you've been depriving them of it. But we've heard you, and we're bringing it back, and we hope that this will also provide a great opportunity for people to lean in. So thank you for that feedback, Vaishali.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all again. I know we are just getting to the top of the hour. And again, with people calling in from all over the world, it's even more important to be timely and not keep you any longer. So we just want to once again say thank you, and really looking forward to continuing to work together come 2026. So plenty more to come. Please engage with us when you can. And I hope everyone has a wonderful December and holiday season.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a great end of year and a beautiful start to 2026. And thank you for your support. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.